Welcome to the We Are More podcast. My name is Alyssa.
And my name's Bree. We're two sisters passionate about all things faith and feminism.
We believe that Jesus trusted, respected, and encouraged women to teach and preach his word. And apparently that's controversial.
Get comfy.
I'm working late because I'm a singer. Just that line has been stuck in my head so thoroughly all day.
I think you've at least quoted it probably 15 times this morning.
Because I'm working late. Because I'm a singer.
I've heard that song so many times lately.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Really, all of her music. That's all I've been listening to.
I know. And now it's on the Dunkin' Donuts commercial too.
Is it?
Because she has a shaken espresso there.
That makes sense. I saw a TikTok or something and it was like, I have to get her credit. I haven't heard the word espresso in about 5 years.
Yes, hallelujah. Oh my gosh. Or express. Oh, no, I can't. Especially. I can't say that. I can't even say it. Especially. I hate that.
There are certain things, like, I'm big on grammar, but there's certain things that I just can't. I can't even look past. My brain can't function. Like when people say could of, instead of could apostrophe VE, like could have. Mm-hmm. When people say could
of.
There
are certain things that I say that I just will not change about myself. Like the big box store. How do you say it?
I'm going to need more than that.
The big store with the pizza and the hot dogs and the chicken.
Costco?
Yeah, that's not how everybody says it. Everybody says Costco.
You say Costco.
I say Costco. Because that's how it should be said.
First of all, there's a T in there.
You sound pretentious.
Costco.
Yeah, you sound like a loser.
There's a T in there. And second of all, you say the O like it's an A. Costco.
You're an idiot. Where are you going? Costco. What do you want from there? Chicken. At Costco. No, I'm not. I'm going to Costco to get my rotisserie chicken and one slice of cheese pizza and a cookie.
Frankly, that's exactly what I'm going to get. If we're having a Costco open in less than a month.
Yeah, really close by.
And I'm very excited. Super pumped.
Mm-hmm.
And once it does open, I will go there, and I will go to the Costco, and I will get one rotisserie chicken and one slice of cheese pizza and one cookie, and I'll be happy about it.
I'm going to Costco, and I'm getting a sample of everything.
Not everything. Sometimes the samples are bad.
Sometimes. And then you have to throw up in the trash cans that are sporadically, throughout the aisles.
Sure. They have this chair, though, I really want. I've seen it on the TikTok, but I also saw it in the actual store. And people are calling it the reading chair because it's this like fleecy sort of white chair.
Yeah.
And it's almost the size of a chair and a half, but not quite. And then it's kind of round. It's got this beautiful ottoman.
Yeah.
And it just looks like the best chair to just curl up in and read a book.
Do it. Buy it. Get it.
It's not that expensive. I want to say it's like $300 or $400. It's not terrible.
That's cheaper than my contacts. Get it.
A lot cheaper. It's like half the price of your contacts. So who knows? Maybe I'll get a chair in the near future.
Get it.
So we left off last week on a cliffhanger.
Did we?
We did.
Yes. We did. What are we going to talk about today? You'll never know.
Frankly, we didn't know until recently. So
yeah, you're
yay
welcome.
For us. But I do want to put a little bit of a trigger warning on this episode. We're going to be talking about one of the women of the Bible that went through some really traumatic stuff. Mm-hmm. Attack and violence and
assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are uncomfortable with that in any way, shape, or form, feel free to go back through our many other episodes if you just want to spend some time and hear our voice. We've been inappropriate and a little crazy on some of those other episodes, but, I mean, feel free to pick and choose which one.
This one just might be a little bit triggering if that's something that you have dealt with or struggle with or anything like that. Because her story it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of... So, it's about Dinah.
Mm-hmm.
and her story is in Genesis. So Old Testament women kind of had it rough. Not that New Testament women really had it any better, but
Not that women now have it that much better.
that's true. But just like Old Testament stories are wild.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about her story, and she's not in our Christian Bible a whole lot. There is a chapter in Genesis that talks about her, and she's mentioned a couple of other times here and there, but she's actually mentioned in the Torah a bit, and then also the Septuagint. So Bree and I were talking about this earlier. What's really interesting is as we study our religion and see how it overlaps with other faiths,
Yeah.
and see that like the characters in our Bible are the same as in the Jewish religion, are some of the same ones as are in the Islam religion, you know, and like
And
seeing
it's
that.
Interesting to hear the same story spun different ways.
Yeah.
You know, like the way that our NLT version of the Bible is saying it is different than the book of Judith,
Right.
which I've never read before.
Yeah.
Until today.
Yep. So we're going to talk through some of that and bring in some different versions of her story. We're also going to talk through possibly the weirdest version of a story that I've ever read. We've talked about the book All the Women of the Bible before. We've referenced it as kind of like our jumping off point for a lot of the women that we talk about.
Yeah, it just has like a massive list of all of the women mentioned in our Bible.
Like a glossary almost. But then it has another portion of it where the author kind of does like a fictional portrayal of the women, kind of bouncing off of their biblical story. But with Dinah, I'm gonna be honest with you, he did a bad job.
It's really
I
bizarre.
think it's a man. So we're going to talk about that version of it as well. But I think let's start with her biblical story. I'm going to say if this is triggering for you, this would be the moment to click over to a different episode.
I recommend the one about Deborah. She's a good time. And if you're not triggered by tent pegs, then it's fine.
If you are triggered by tent pegs, that's not the way to go. So Dinah's story, and if you haven't heard it, don't feel weird about that because I had not ever heard her name. And when I mentioned her to my husband earlier, he was like,
Who?
what?
Because when I hear the name Dinah, I think of a cat.
Me too.
Isn't there like some kind of weird story? Or maybe it was a little golden book about a cat named Dinah.
I think there's
Oh
a
no, it's in
movie.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Her cat's named
Her
Dinah.
cat's name is Dinah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
I knew it was somewhere
Yeah.
in the depths of my mind.
So, as mentioned a few times, but the main part of her story is in Genesis 34. And it's kind of the whole chapter. She takes up the whole chapter. But essentially, because I don't super want to read like a whole chapter of the Bible to you
Why
all.
not? It's Reading Rainbow.
And after that has drug up some memories for all you millennials.
Butterfly in the sky.
Stop it.
I can fly twice as high. Take a look. It's in the book. Reading Rainbow.
We're going to get copyrighted again. Again
Not
with this.
not with that version of the song. It was truly bad. They're like, that's okay.
So she, the basics of the story, I would encourage you to go read it in whatever translation you prefer, but I'm looking at the NLT right now. And basically her story is that she was the daughter of Jacob and Leah. Now, Jacob had 12 sons who went on to be the 12 leaders of the tribes of Israel.
I feel like it's easiest to recognize him as, Joseph, who had the coat of many colors. It's his dad.
I'm gonna be fully honest with you, not a big fan of Jacob.
Jacob kind of seems like not a great dad,
No.
in my opinion. Hot take. I don't know.
I mean, any story that you hear about Jacob, and it's tough. The stories in the Bible are tough because you hear about, like, God spoke directly to Jacob. As you read through this, God is speaking directly to Jacob. So Jacob had some relationship with God. And yet you hear these stories about him with Rachel and Leah, with his sons, with Dinah, you'll hear about in a second. He's not the best dude.
I mean, it really just shows you that God can use anyone.
Yeah.
Just anyone. And if you feel like maybe you're trash, Just read the Bible and realize you're not that bad.
Encouragement with Brianna.
There's worse.
So anyway, Dinah is, I believe, his only daughter, and certainly the only daughter of Leah, who had 6 of Jacob's sons. According to tradition, Leah had prayed for a girl. She really, really wanted a girl, and this was her last child. She finally has a girl, and Dinah goes, when she's an adult, or it doesn't give her exact age, but
When she's oldish.
older, she goes to visit some of the women in her area, goes to hang out, and she is kidnapped by, I'm going to butcher a bunch of names, okay? This is not my forte.
Listen, I'm only here to judge you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna say his name is Sheshem. I could be fully wrong.
Shishem.
But that's what we're going with. That's his name today.
We could give him a nickname. Shish.
Shush. No, we're not doing that.
What a piece of shush.
Well, you're not wrong. So he was the local prince in the area. Now, Jacob and his family were like traveling, so they weren't necessarily settled in a particular area at this point. And so they were in this area, and the local prince was Sheshem, and the land was also called Sheshem. And the prince found Dinah and assaulted her. Now, according to some traditions, she became pregnant from that, but that's not actually featured in our Protestant Bible. So after he did that, it says that he fell in love with her.
Which, based on like reading the rest of the story, I don't know how much he fell in love with her as much as he obsessed over her.
Yeah. Kind of wanted to control
Yeah.
her, maybe control the situation. Now, the Bible, the NLT version does say, but then he fell in love with her. But you do have to ask the question of, like, what does fall in love with her mean
Yeah.
when you've known her for 3 seconds?
And it doesn't say that she fell in love with him.
It absolutely does not.
That's the thing.
Right. So it says he tried to win her affection. So he's still keeping her hostage, mind you. Like, and again, you have to question what love means, because in
Right.
my mind, love does not mean
Control.
attack and then keep her locked in a room.
Right.
So he tries to win her affection, and then he sends his father to Dinah's father, Jacob, to try and get Jacob to allow him to marry her. So Jacob heard what happened. He heard what actually happened.
Yep. Way to go,
And-
Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob, not the best. Just not the best, okay? Now, this probably was not an uncommon occurrence at the time. So Jacob didn't do anything about it right away. His sons were out in the field working, whatever, and he waited until his sons came back. And once they came back and found out what happened, and Sheshem's father is like discussing this with them, whatever, trying to get them to agree to let Dinah marry Sheshem, the brothers were shocked and furious. Now, I want to note, and this isn't necessarily important to the story, but Jacob, not shocked and furious. It does not say that he's shocked and furious. The brothers are.
I think something important to note is you may not think that Jacob is a bad guy in this situation because he didn't react, but not reacting is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing anything when you see that something is wrong is bad.
Mm-hmm. In a way, you're complicit.
Yeah.
In a way, you're allowing not just this to happen, but the next thing to happen. Because you don't deal with the situation at hand. When you allow bad behavior to happen once, you allow it to happen the second time. And I think that's what I see a lot in our world today, is when you don't stand up against wrong once.
Because it's not affecting you.
Right.
So you don't do anything. But that's not how we as Christians should behave,
Right.
in my opinion.
And in this story, we see Dinah's brothers are furious. They are reacting. They want to protect their sister. They want to step in. Now, don't, like...
They're not the best.
They're not the best.
Keep in mind they sold their brother.
Yeah, let's remember, these are the same brothers that I actually don't know where in the story
Joseph.
we are. Yes, because
Yeah.
these are the same brothers that either have or will later sell Joseph into slavery. So, like, this is not a great family, okay? Like, you don't want to be in this family.
There's some drama.
Lots of
I
drama.
would say. This is not a Full House family.
No, this is not where you want to be. Plus, like, Rachel and Leah are a disaster. Things are not going well here.
I mean, does anything ever go well with sister wives? I don't know.
Probably not. I mean, you've seen the show.
I've seen the show.
So, so what happens is Shishem's dad is trying to, like, talk things down. He's like, no, he's really in love with her. Really, like, really.
Yeah.
He loves her. Let him marry her. And also, if you let him marry her, here's what we'll give you.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's making the deal. This is Shark Tank now.
He pretty much says, like, anything you want. I'll give you anything you want.
Yep. We'll let you live here. You can settle here. You don't have to just roam the lands anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start trading in women, which, of course, at the time, we always do. He says, we'll give you our daughters to marry. You can give us your daughters to marry. We'll become one people.
Because at the time, women are property.
Right. And you can have our cattle. We'll have your cattle. Because, again, women are the same as cattle in this situation, unfortunately. And the lands will be ours together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're basically offering them the moon and stars. Just so that he can marry this girl, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a lot. This is quite the big ask. So Jacob's sitting there like, well, maybe. But the brothers are not satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty hard to say no to this because this is everything that they could want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stability, safety, numbers.
And someone in a higher up position in power is coming to you and demanding this of you.
Right.
Almost.
Right. It's hard to say no at that point. They also say, the father says, whatever dowry or gift you demand, I'll pay it. Which is interesting because normally the girl's family would pay the dowry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of role reversal there. They're essentially begging for her.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. Like, we don't get a lot of her story. Who was she?
She was great, I guess.
I mean, she must have been amazing, right? But you do have to ask that question. Who was this wonderful, incredible woman that inspired this? Now, obviously, this was about control. There was there was that aspect of it. But behind it, there was an incredible woman.
Mm-hmm.
There was an incredible woman that sparked a whole series of events that happens from here.
Well, also, I mean, like, she also had the love of her brothers. Keep in mind, her brothers are kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But
she had earned that.
Yeah. Her brothers cared about her. They didn't just say, you know what, that's fine. We'll just take what we want out of this. Fantastic.
Right. Right. So then, again, this is quite the long chapter, and I would encourage you to read it because it is a hard story to get through, but it is a really interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, but since Shechem defiled their sister Dinah, Jacob's sons responded deceitfully. So they're sneaky, right?
As we know about them.
We do.
They're sneaky sneakertons.
They are. And so they said, and I want to know, did they have to, like, go back into a secret room and, like, discuss this? Or are they, like, mind melding are they like you and me? And they just glanced at each other and they're like, all right, here's what we're
They
doing.
give each other a wink, like,
Yeah.
You can't see me, but I'm winking. Wink, wink, okay.
But here's what they do. So they say, we can't possibly allow her to marry you because you're not circumcised, and it would be an affront to our sensibilities. It would be horrible for us if she married you because you and all of your people are not circumcised. And at this time in the Jewish faith, men had to be circumcised. Now, at this time in the Jewish faith, boys were circumcised as babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about full-grown men getting circumcised. So they basically say, like, that's the thing that's standing in the way.
Also, no numbing.
No numbing.
No numbing. Ow.
And so the father takes this back to his son and is like, this is what they're saying. You can't marry her because you're not circumcised. And he's like, well, let's do that then. Think this through, okay?
Not just him, though.
Not just
Every
him.
man
Right.
in that area.
So Shechem and his father now have to go to, like, the high council or whatever and say, okay, in order for me to marry this girl that I've decided I'm in love with, we all have to get circumcised. All of us
Yep.
have to agree to this. Now, there's like positives for the whole community, I guess.
Which are
All the girls. That's what it is. It's now there's more women, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I don't know how to get around that. This whole story is about women as currency.
yeah. Which Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, yeah. But this man somehow manages to convince an entire community of men to have their junk sliced into. And I just want to know
Ow.
what kind of manipulation he had to do to get that to happen.
Did they all line up?
I don't know, like, what doctors did they find to do this?
They
what
just
was
go
happening?
chop, chop, chop.
Like, no numbing. There's no way there's enough certified medical professionals. What's going on here? The bloodbath, okay? Like, what is happening? Bad times. So much screaming. No one wants to be around at this point.
You know what? At this point, I'd like to move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Okay.
Ew.
Maybe we should have added that bit to our trigger warning for all the poor men that just had to hear that. So anyway, so they all do it though.
Mm-hmm.
The whole community of men. But remember, Dinah's brothers are sneaky, right?
Sneaky sneakertons.
Sneaky sneakertons. And so they wait a couple of days.
So everybody can get chopped.
Yeah, everybody's been chopped.
Mm-hmm.
And they sneak into town. Just 2 of them. There's a whole community. But only 2 of them sneak into town with their swords. And all the men are still very weak. Because you're not talking about a current procedure where, like, yeah, I'm sure you'd still be in pain 3 days later, but you've had all of the medical, you know, numbing and whatever else needs
Medication
to be
for
done. Yeah.
after and
Yeah.
all of that.
You're not talking about that. You're talking about trauma to your body. So it's going to take a long time for them to heal from. And they kill them all. They take them all out. Okay? All of the men in the community, anyone that they saw as complicit, anyone that they thought might have been part of anything, they take them all out. And they steal everything. They steal all of the livestock, anything that they saw of value. They took all of the kids and all of the women back to their camps. And it doesn't really say, like,
What happens after that?
yeah, it doesn't say that they attacked them necessarily, but it says that they brought them back to their homes. So we don't really know what happened to them at that point. Remember, we're not trying to make out her brothers as, like, these saviors of whatever. They're still not great guys. It's just in this instance, they did come and save their sister. Morally gray. We'll go with that. That's what all the book talk girlies are saying. Morally gray characters. Not great, but doing one good thing, I guess.
I mean,
They did save her.
Yep.
They got her out. They brought her back home. And the 2 that did save her were Simeon and Levi. So they became the...
Brothers of mass destruction.
I mean, yeah. So then the rest of Jacob's sons show up. And they see what these 2 did. And they're like, well... But they help them get all the herds and everything back to Jacob's lands. And Jacob is pissed. He's not happy because he was not consulted about this situation. And his boys have been plotting this because he's a terrible father and he has no idea what his children are doing at any time.
Jacob did nothing.
Jacob did nothing.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Jacob did nothing.
Yeah. And now, was this the right route? Maybe not. Maybe this was not, like, the best life choices here.
I'm not defending those choices, but they did something.
They did something. Now, this is an extreme situation here, okay?
know.
We're not proponents of attacking and, murdering a whole village of people.
Yeah. And chopping off everybody's weenies.
But in this situation, like, you have to ask what was the best move here. And it's just an interesting, I guess, question to ask. And I think it's good to dig into the Bible and ask really hard questions of even the people that were taught good things about. You know, like Jacob is the father of all the tribes of Israel. And a lot of times one of the good guys in our stories, but he's not a good guy in this story.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to look at the story and be like, what am I supposed to learn here? Because it's important enough to be written in the Bible. It's in the first book of the Bible.
Right.
It's important enough for generations and generations and generations of people to go back and look and learn from this story. What am I supposed to learn from this? For me, it's do something. Maybe not murder. Maybe not, torture. But something. Don't stand by. Don't just let things happen to the people that you care about.
Right. And in the end, Dinah is saved. She comes out of this. And so we'll talk a little bit about the Jewish traditions of what happens to her afterwards, because this is just what's in, like I said, the Protestant Bible of what happened to her. But there are other traditions of what is believed to have happened to her. But essentially, they come back and Jacob tells them, like, you've ruined us. We're done for. Because once everybody else in the area finds out what you did, there's nowhere we can go and be safe. Because everyone's going to come after us. Everyone's going to think we're going to come after them, so they're going to come after us first. And they basically said, but why should we let him treat our sister like a prostitute? And so they don't regret it. They said, we're going to stand up for our family. We're going to stand up for our sister, which is interesting because then they, sell Joseph into slavery. But it's a very complicated story.
It's not like the story from Taken, where the dad's like, I have a very particular set of skills.
No, it's not that.
Jacob doesn't care.
No.
Jacob's more concerned with, like, himself, I would say.
Jacob would have sacrificed his daughter at the end of the day. I don't think Jacob was horribly concerned about his family. And they were. And what does that say? And you have to wrestle with that yourself.
Yeah.
Of what does that say? I don't have a conclusion. It's a morally gray story. It's a complicated story. One thing I do think is interesting is as you look up her story, Dinah's name means judgment. Now, Leah named her that as a baby. So from the time she was born, her name was Judgment. Imagine walking around with that.
What's your name?
Judgment.
Judgment.
So what came down through her, through her story, through her very broken, very painful story. Judgment on a broken people, judgment on men who betrayed her. Her whole story is a story of men who betrayed her.
Yeah. Which, unfortunately, is super common for women of that time because they're not people. They're property.
Right.
They're similar to cattle, just like we said.
Now, the story goes on, and Jacob and his family, they end up leaving that area. They're kind of like fleeing Jacob's brother. And this story sets off a chain of events that leads to them settling eventually. And we're not going to go into the whole story because then I'd have to read the rest of Genesis to you. And I don't want to do that.
Actually, settle in, girls. It's story time.
But I would encourage you to read the rest of it. But her story is important. And we say this all the time. I know, like, I feel like I'm a broken record half the time. But we go into church all the time and we hear these big stories of Paul and Moses and Noah and whatever, like the big ones, right? And we forget these stories. And her story is an entire chapter in the Bible. It takes up a whole chapter. But have you ever heard it?
No, Alyssa and I were looking through this book, All the Women of the Bible book. We're like, what should we talk about? And I randomly picked Dinah's story. And we both were like, who? I don't know who that is. Now, if you've been, studying the Old Testament lately, you might recognize her name, but you're not hearing it in church.
No. And yet her story is a critical part of why Jacob's family winds up where they wind up, why the 12 tribes of Israel wind up where they wind up, why then David winds up where he winds up, why his line ends up with Jesus.
Maybe why Joseph was in the area where he was when he got sold.
I mean, really, everything about this story leads to Jesus. Without Dinah, Jesus isn't where he should be. But we forgot her part of the story. And for goodness sakes, with the amount of Sundays I have sat in a church pew, okay, like, we can dedicate one to the importance of her story. And yes, it's short, but this part is important. The part that she played, the part that her brothers played, the part that Jacob played, the part that her mother played, all of it weaves together to create a very complicated, very not easy for us to understand, not comfortable necessarily, but important part of Jesus' story. Now, I want to talk also about her story kind of in the Jewish tradition. Because, again, it's important to know that our stories weave in with other religions too. And that other religions have, the Jewish history has, I think they maintain a different level of their own history than we as Protestant Christians do.
Yeah.
Because it's their actual, like, history. It's their ancestors' history. Whereas it's not necessarily my ancestors' history, even though I claim the religion itself.
Yeah.
So this is on Shabbat.org, if you all want to look that up.
My favorite website.
And it's just Dinah in the Bible, and there's 10 facts about her. And so I'll go through them relatively quickly so that we don't have a 4-hour-long podcast. Although, frankly, it's our podcast, not yours, so I do what I want.
Hi, ha, 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 ha.
Everyone out there's like, what were those sounds? Did some monster just walk in the room?
Monstrous laughs.
Yes. Laugh. So the first fact is that she was the daughter of Jacob and Leah. Now, if you know the story of Jacob, he married 2 sisters.
Sister.
Leah and Rachel. Leah, he was kind of forced to marry. He wanted to marry Rachel, but he got kind of tricked into marrying Leah first. Yeah. So Leah was not necessarily the wife that he wanted to have. And my understanding of the story is that that impacted all of their relationships moving forward. But Leah had 6 sons, 6 of his 12 sons. And then afterwards she had Dinah. And I believe she was his only daughter. She was definitely Leah's only daughter, like I said, but I think she was also his only daughter. According to Jewish tradition, Leah prayed for a girl. And let me just tell you, if I had had 6 boys, I would also be praying for a girl.
I would be praying for a girl, but at the same time, in the culture that they're living in, I'm surprised. Because men have so much power.
That's true.
And I would have a hard time wishing for a girl. Now, this is coming from a feminist perspective.
Right.
But I would have a hard time praying for a girl knowing what world she's going to grow up in.
That's very true. Knowing what she'd have to go through. Knowing what Leah went through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how hard Leah had to fight just to be seen at any point. The stories that you read between Leah and Jacob and how she just was not cared for are really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially because it was her sister. She was fighting with her sister at the end of the day.
Yuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yuck.
Yuck.
Yuck. But it does say that Dinah means judgment. And it says the sages, so kind of like the historians in this situation, explain that Leah chose it because she had passed judgment on herself, is what they say. So that's interesting.
As we all do, you know.
Oh, so this says she had had 6 sons, and the maids, so it was prophesied that Jacob would have 12 sons to be the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So she had had 6 sons, and the maids had had 4. So that's 10 sons altogether. Rachel had only had 1 son. And so Leah prayed that she would not have another son so that Rachel could have that second son, so that she wouldn't have just as many sons as the maids. So that she would have one more to be slightly more important than the maids.
Don't you love the Old Testament?
It is a
Everybody?
wild place.
Don't you just love, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When we talk about marriage now, We need to go back to tradition. Okay, let's go back to tradition. Not the 1950s. I'm going to go marry a man who has 17 wives and he loves all his servants too. Traditional.
We're not proponents of that. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear.
Depends on how rich that guy is.
It doesn't depend on that. I promise it doesn't depend on that. Okay. So then again, according to Jewish tradition, it says that Jacob protected her from Esau. So Esau would have been Dinah's uncle. He was Jacob's brother. And Esau was the one that Jacob ran away from. Now, if you know the biblical tradition, essentially like Jacob ran away from him and then they end up, I believe, like reuniting and being okay in the end.
On that website, it calls Esau a rogue man.
Yeah. But according to Jewish tradition, Jacob introduced his wives and their sons to Esau, but did not introduce Dinah.
Mm-hmm.
Which this website, now, again, this is all kind of like tradition, myth, things like that. Not necessarily biblical context.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this is coming from the
passed
Torah,
down
the
stories.
Septuagint. Yeah, but passed down stories. So it says Jacob hid her in a box.
And put that box in a bigger box.
Hopefully did not smash it.
Smashed it with a hammer.
That's from
The Emperor's
New Groove. So it says so that Esau wouldn't see her and want to marry her, because that was the thing back then.
Mm-hmm.
So then again, and this is part of the story that now does overlap with the Bible, when she was in the city of Shechem saw her, wanted her, attacked her, and then sent his father, whose name interestingly means donkey. So that's a fun one to ask Jacob for her hands in marriage. Then her brothers rescued her, made all the townspeople get circumcised, and then killed off the town, which is bold. So then the rest of the like little facts about her are kind of after that point. And there's some of these that kind of, they can't all be true necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's myths and legends about what could have happened to her next, because she didn't just disappear. So what happened to her?
Yeah.
We don't know. So we do know that her brother Joseph was sold as a slave in Egypt. We know that part of the story. He eventually rose to power and then married the daughter of Potiphar. We know that. According to one rabbinic tradition, it says Asenath was Dinah's daughter. So the woman that Joseph married
was
Dinah's daughter, born after she was impregnated by Shechem. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm just reading tradition things.
Tradition.
So one thing it does say is that she did probably go to Egypt with Jacob. So we know that eventually Jacob and his family did go to Egypt because their land there was famine, there was all kinds of stuff. So they went and found Joseph in Egypt, and she likely was with them. Some say that she was the mother of Saul. So it says the list of Jacob's progeny includes a certain Saul, the son of the Canaanite woman. So not the Saul that you're thinking of, a different Saul. And then it asks, like, who was the Canaanite woman? According to one tradition, it could have been Dinah, who was thus named because she had been violated by a Canaanite. And then another one is that some say she married Job of the Bible. And then another is that she is buried alongside her brothers in Arbel, which is somewhere that you can actually visit in Israel.
Interesting.
So those are just some different like things, traditions about her that if you're only reading the Bible, you're not going to hear about. And again, they're not necessarily biblical, but they're just interesting things to know historically about someone who was an actual historical figure. And something that you can kind of take what you want from it and help it to make a real person out of what can kind of seem just like a story sometimes.
I think that's the most powerful thing you can do with these stories in the Bible is like really make them into real people. Like Jonah.
Yeah.
Think about that one.
That one just
I just saw a TikTok the other day. These two guys were kayaking in the ocean. I don't know where. But the guy, literally, a whale came up and he went into the whale's mouth and then he was spit back out. And his friend was like, oh, wow.
I have many a question.
I'm going to share it on our TikTok. The guy was eaten by a whale and spit back out.
I have many a question. The first one is, you can kayak in the ocean?
I don't know where they were. They were kayaking.
If it
And
was
the
a
man
whale,
got eaten by a whale.
I think it has to be the ocean. I don't think
Alyssa,
whales
you can
live other
kayak
places.
anywhere there's water.
I don't think so.
I think you can.
In a teaspoon? You can kayak in a teaspoon?
Mm-hmm. Depending on the size of the kayak.
I'm going to need some serious proof that a man in a kayak in the ocean was swallowed up by a whale while his friend sat there and watched.
What was he gonna do?
I'm going to guess that the wave from the whale would have carried him away.
I'm not insane. He just got swallowed by the whale and he got spit back out.
All right, now another part of her story that I guess this isn't really part of her story, but I'm going to say
An interpretation.
an interpretation of her story that I want to talk about, because I think we often make stories easier for us to digest.
A little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe why we don't hear these stories in church.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're tough stories to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it paints a bad picture of Jacob.
Right.
Or it paints a bad picture of, his sons. But we need to be talking about these stories so that we can be telling men and women in our church families, like, here, look at this story. Hey, by the way, this isn't okay.
Mm-hmm. There is not a black and white, like, good and bad in this story.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a, this person did the perfect thing and this person did the completely wrong thing. And
Well,
there's,
Sheshem.
okay, there's one. But, like, for the most part, like, her brothers didn't do the perfectly right thing. There's not there's not someone you can point to and be like, and they were the shining example of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it is in the Bible. But it is something we should talk about, because it was important enough to put there. So we need to talk about it. However, I think there was someone that did it wrong. So this
M.L. Del...
Mastro.
Ugh.
So we talk about this book fairly often, because we use it as, like, a glossary, basically a jumping off point, and we've said it a couple times throughout this episode. It's called All the Women of the Bible, and it has two sections to it. It has what it calls the Book of Names, and that's in the front, and that's literally just a list and description, and then where the women are mentioned in the Bible. And that's mostly where we live when we use this book.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also has the Book of Stories.
Oh.
And that's essentially like a fictional account.
Mm-hmm.
I would have guessed it was biblically based.
It doesn't appear to be.
This story certainly is not. So Dinah's story is just maybe like 2.5, 3 pages. And I want to real quick go over it, because I would guess that if you're ever hearing this story, this might be the version that you're hearing, or something similar.
Mm-hmm.
So the version that is told here is basically that Dinah, while her family was hanging out in this area, Dinah goes into town to visit with some people, and she meets Sheshem, and she voluntarily, of her own free will, goes and sleeps with him.
Mm-hmm. And falls in love with him.
And he falls in love with her. And she comes back home, and she's talking to her mom and her aunt, I think. And her mom kind of pushes her a little bit and questions her and is like, so what actually happened? Because I know something happened.
Give me the tea.
Yeah.
Why are you blushing?
And she just comes out with it. She's like, all right, well, we slept together. But don't worry, I've had my period, so it's fine.
Which is absolutely not the story.
No! Like, the Bible is very specific about what happened.
Yep.
It says what he did to her. It was not consensual. She was not okay with it. Now, this story is not necessarily blaming her. I don't want to say that it's putting the blame on her, because that's not the vibe that you're getting as you're reading it.
It paints it as a love story.
Yeah.
Which it absolutely is not.
It is not. This is a story of control.
Mm-hmm.
This is a story of who's in power and how can we put women where we want them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this story is. But in this book, you're right, it's a love story. And it's Dinah's love story. And I hate that. It feels really icky.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dinah tells her mother, like, it wouldn't even matter if I was pregnant because he told me he wants to have children with me and we're going to fall in love. We're going to have babies. Blah, blah, blah. So she begs Leah to go to her father and ask him if they can get married, which, again, did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bible, in every tradition that we could find, his father goes to her father because only men have these conversations. Yep. The women are not involved. They're not consulted. And the men discussed it.
Yeah.
In this story, which has no bearing on reality, Leah goes to Jacob and has that conversation. And then from there, kind of, it goes a little bit more biblical. Shechem's dad does come to Jacob and asks, and then the brothers are involved a little bit. The brothers do think that Shechem forced himself on her, and they're unhappy about it. But they do agree to it, but they're not being sneaky sneaks yet. They, according to this story, it doesn't sound like they planned it. It sounds like they just
so happened.
They took advantage of the situation. Basically, they saw that the men were now weak and they wanted the wealth for themselves. It wasn't about her. It wasn't about defending her. It was that they wanted the wealth for themselves.
Power.
Yeah. Which is a really strange way to spin this story.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, obviously this is a fictional account, and this is not an uncommon thing to do with Bible stories. Like, there's plenty of authors that will take a simple story from the Bible and make it a fictional story.
But you keep the core of the story the same. You can add like bits of dialogue or maybe emotion, how that person may have been feeling even though we don't know. But the core of the story should stay the same.
Right.
The core of this story that he's saying, this Mastro person, is not the truth.
No.
At all.
No. He's turned, instead of turning Shechem into the villain, he's turned her brothers into the villains. And I'm not entirely sure why, because that doesn't seem like the easy option to me. Like, you kind of have to do some gymnastics in order to get there. Now, again, they are not great people in this story either, but maybe it's to have a distinct villain. Maybe it's so that there's just one person you hate and not everybody kind of sucks.
But unfortunately, that's not really how life works.
Right.
Like you said, there's a lot of morally gray situations, and you have to figure out for yourself what is good to take away from that story and what's bad to take away from the story. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's weird.
In the end...
Oh, I just had a Hannah Montana song.
In the end of this story, and again, not the biblical story, but in the end of this story, basically they tell Dinah what happened, and she's crushed, and she's like, I should have stopped them. I should have saved my lover, whatever.
Ew.
And they were like, there's nothing you could have done. And she's sitting there talking to her loving parents, and they're like, there's nothing you could have done. They were bloodthirsty. And she was like, I loved him, but it's over, and there's just nothing I can do about it. And her mom says, except to go on. And she just says, like, I'll go on. I'll go on. It's just so...
Every night in my dreams, I see
so
you.
strange.
Oh my goodness.
I think
Well,
Dinah's story, because we don't hear a lot from her in her story. You know, a lot of the stories that we go over, you're hearing more from the women themselves. Dinah's story is about her, but it kind of circles around her in a way. You know, she's the centerpiece, but she's not the main character in some ways. But it's hard to think of her because nothing in her story is good. She's the only daughter of a wife that was not loved in a family that was a disaster. She's then attacked and brutalized by a man that just wants to control her.
Mm-hmm.
She's used as a pawn by her dad, who is perfectly willing
Mm-hmm.
to sell her off for some security.
Yep.
And then she's saved by brothers who, yes, did save her, but then, destroyed a whole town. So she's probably still scared of them.
Yeah.
And then eventually they sell off another one of her brothers. And then we don't really know what happens to her. Like, maybe she, does some of these other things that we talked about, but we don't really know what happens to her from there.
I mean, at the very least, her story's in the Bible, and we're going to remember her forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she's up in heaven, hanging with Jesus.
I can't get over her name.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what really stands out to me the most in this story. What will solidify her place in history is the word judgment.
The girl called Judgment. Mm-hmm.
When people came for her, judgment rang out over them.
Yeah.
When people attacked her, when people treated her like she was nothing, judgment came for them. God came after them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when she felt like she was nothing, even when she was the lowliest of the children, of the wife that wasn't loved, of a people group that wasn't recognized, that didn't have a home, that was running from a brother that hated them. Like, their story sucks.
Yeah.
They're not in a good position at this point. But still, judgment came after them when anyone hurt her, when anyone came for her. And that's what I take from this, is that God still had her.
Mm-hmm.
God still was there.
Yeah.
Even when everything collapsed around her, even when it felt so alone. But yeah, that's our story about Dinah today.
Do you feel happy now?
That's the thing, is not all the stories in the Bible end on a happy note.
That's just stories, baby.
Yeah.
Not
the
everything
reality.
is happy. That's why I'm reading a rom-com right now.
A
Just
rom-com.
a little bit of light in my life.
I am not. The book I'm reading through is 700 and some odd pages, and it will not end.
That's how I felt about Shark Heart. Oh my gosh. Alyssa and I have been on a reading kick, and I just read a book about a man that turns into a shark.
And she does not recommend it.
I don't recommend it. You know what? Everybody on the TikTok recommends it. They're like, surprisingly good. What the heck? I thought it was bad.
There are books out there that are very popular that are just not it.
Yeah.
They're just not where it's at.
Yeah. What are you guys doing for fun?
We've been sitting reading because we've been dumped on by 45 feet of snow.
Dumped on.
And today we barely got out to get our Starbucks, frankly. We had to risk our
We
lives.
risked our lives for a coffee. And that's that.
And tomorrow we'll do it again. Actually, tomorrow I have to take a child to school and you have to go to work, so I got to risk my life for that anyway, so I might as well get a coffee out of it. Boo. All right, well, we will see you guys next week, possibly for another woman of the Bible. Although, let us know. There's a really interesting verse in 1 Timothy that talks about childbearing being kind of like the salvation of women. And I just came across a really interesting article about it, and I would love to dive into it, but it's going to take a good bit of research in order to really give that topic what it needs.
I'll tell you what. If childbirth is what's saving women, there's a good chunk of us out there not saved.
But I would really like to kind of dig into that and just, I don't know, see where all of the research winds up.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, please let me know. That might be a multiple episode thing because I'm sure there's a lot out there on it. So let us know on our socials if you'd like to see that. And we will talk to you all next week.
Maybe with something slightly more joyful.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Hooray!
All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.